This is Sheila Butler. I'm your host of Successful Women Talk, and I am so excited today. We have special guest Lucha Bot. Lucha is in the industry of home. She's a sales rep in the home and decor industry wholesale side. So she's going to tell us a little bit about her background, how she got started, and where she is today. So Lucha, thanks for joining us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Sheila.
Well, you are most welcome. So let's start off by telling us tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into this industry.
Well, how much time do you have? That's a long story.
I have all the time in the world for you.
And I came via a very circuitous route. My educational background is in education. I started off as a elementary school teacher, and I did that for a couple of years, and I realized that I really liked children, but I didn't like being cooped up with them all day long. So I was looking for something else to do, and I had a boyfriend at the time who was a jewelry designer. He was a fine arts major and was looking for a way to integrate commerce and art. And he wanted to be a sculptor, but there was really no money in that. So he started making jewelry and selling that to retail stores. So because I had nothing much to do, I decided that I would give him a hand. And that turned into a business that kept us going for almost 20 years.
And also turned into a marriage, I think, right?
And it turned into a marriage and 2 children.
There you go.
So Lawrence and I developed we built a pretty successful jewelry business. We worked with all of the big department stores, Nordstrom, Macy's, Dillard's, and then also a lot of the boutiques. And we had a lot of fun. There were a lot of advantages to working together, and then there are also some disadvantages, the most obvious being that you never leave your work behind. So we did that for about 20 years. And then in 1998, we had already had 2 children at that time. We had an offer. A larger company wanted to buy the company. And we were very ambivalent about it, but we decided that it was a good opportunity, and we were getting kind of burnt out doing this anyway, and we thought we would do something different. Well, what happened was the people that were buying the company made my husband an offer, and they asked if he would stay on for a couple of years and sort of shepherd them, through all of the procedures. And he agreed that he would, but they didn't make me an offer.
Interesting.
They perceived him as having a lot more value than they did me, because he was the creative side and I was the business side. What they didn't realize is that they really needed me and him. But anyway, so he stayed on, and he's been there actually for 13 years.
So 2 years has now turned into 13
2 years. Into 13. So I was a little upset that they didn't make me an offer. My ego was really wounded. And then I decided that I was going to take a little time off, which I hadn't really taken any time off in a really long time, and figure out what I wanted to do and try to find something that I would be passionate about. And then the more time that passed, I realized that I actually wanted to do something completely on my own. I had always been sort of tied to Lawrence's coattails.
Sure.
And I just wanted to do something on my own and have it be, make it on my own or fail on my own. I had never done that. So I started to think about what are the things that I really like to do. And I was very passionate about my kids and my home. And I couldn't really see a way to turn the kids into a business. So I started looking around and applied for some jobs in the home decor industry. Now, it was back in 1999 when all of the dot-coms were just starting. And there were all of these, young people, I mean really young, like in their 20s, that were starting these incredible dot-com companies. And I thought, wow, this is so new and different. This would be fantastic. And a lot of the sites, the retail, the .com sites were looking for people to partner with advertisers. So I thought that would be a great opportunity for me, where I could partner, I could sort of be the liaison between the .com company and trying to find them retail partners, because I had had very long established relationships with lots and lots of different stores. So I started going on interviews with these people that were in their 20s, and I was already well into my 40s, maybe even a little older. And I really think that they couldn't see beyond my age, because they felt that this was what would I know about this new young industry, even though I knew that I could do these jobs with my hands tied behind my back. They didn't seem to agree. So I went on all of these interviews, and I was getting really frustrated, and also I was starting to feel really badly with all of the rejection that I was getting. And some of the jobs were fun and exciting, and I really wanted to get involved in this new young industry, but I just couldn't get past these 20-somethings.
Yep.
That was my opinion.
Sure.
I couldn't tell you for certain that that was why they were rejecting me, but that was certainly the impression that I was getting. So I had heard a friend of mine was a sales rep in the home decor industry, and she had told me about a showroom that was looking for a sales rep. So I actually went and I interviewed for that job, and I got the job, and I started working for someone else, which was not what I wanted to do. I settled. I said I wanted to do something on my own, and that's not what I was doing. So I actually started working for a showroom, and we were independent sales reps working for about 20 different home decor companies. And I did that for a while, and then I just went out. I left the showroom and took a chance. And
on yourself.
And I just started getting small little rinky-dink companies to represent, and then I built it up. And now I have a lot of nationally recognized companies.
That's very interesting. How was it going from being a business owner? I can't imagine. I can't imagine, because something similar happened to me. How does it? I know it's tough. Like when your husband was asked to stay on, even though you probably did a majority of running the entire business, is my guess. That's tough. How do you go from that? I mean, how to being a business owner that's pretty much running your own business to working for someone else? How that was challenging, I'm guessing.
It was very challenging for me because I am a very entrepreneurial person. And the person that I was working for really didn't welcome my opinions. Perhaps if I had been working for a different kind of person, it would have worked out better. But she was very much the sort of person that her name is on the door. She makes all of the decisions. And then the hardest part is when you are selling a product that is, she was making all of the decisions with regard to the products that we would sell. And all of the products were not necessarily things that I liked.
Gotcha.
I was passionate about it. And the one thing I know about sales is that it's really hard to sell something that you don't really love. So it was not a good match. She and I just really didn't.
It didn't work out.
It didn't work out. So that was really, when I decided this is not what I want to do, I'm just going to go out on my own.
So when you finally went out on your own, how long did it take you? I know you picked up some small accounts. How long did it take you to feel like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm successful, I'm on my own, feeling comfortable, and maybe being a little bit profitable? How long did that take?
Well, it took several years, and honestly, I don't know that I could have done it had there not been someone else in the household that was making money.
Right.
I mean, that's, an honest evaluation of my situation, because it probably took about 2 years before I really felt that I was making enough money to feel like I had a real business.
Right.
And then also, it takes a long time to really build up your package of, the lines that you're representing and establish yourself, have a good reputation.
Right. So now I know you said you settled with the showroom. Do you ever settle with lines, or do you only now rep lines that you really enjoy and like repping? Well, that's kind of a trick question because you're still repping some of these lines. So
I hope you're not watching.
That's funny. I just mean in general, do you try and pick things that you're passionate about?
For the most part. Now, sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. I mean, honestly, I do represent a couple of lines that I might not have picked had I not really liked the people that own the companies.
Gotcha.
So it's really more about my relationship with the business owners. And sometimes I do try to give them some direction.
So I think you bring up such a great point. And I was talking with a couple of business owners earlier, and they said the same thing. They've done deals with people in businesses that maybe they would not have had they not liked the owners so much, or it was just more of a relationship thing. So how big of a role does relationship and networking play in your business?
I think it's 90% of it. Really, because I don't have anything that people can't get from at least 5 or 10 or 12 or 20 other manufacturers. So you need to have, why are they going to buy from me? And most of the time it really is that they like you.
Right.
And they're happy to see you, and you give them some added value. They have to believe that by working with you and letting you into their world, that you have their best interests at heart.
Gotcha.
And they have to completely trust that you're not going to just try to sell them something just so you yourself can make money. And that you're building a relationship.
And sometimes those relationships are very long term.
I've been working with the same manufacturers and the same shop owners, some of them for 13 years.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Now, what about how hard is it to get your foot in the door with a new manufacturer? How do you go about doing that?
Well, that's hard, and that's becoming harder and harder. I think with the advent of the internet, a lot of the manufacturers are feeling that they can save the commission by just advertising, having their wares on the internet. They do the trade shows. So that's been a little bit more of a challenge. But what I do is I go to the trade shows. I walk the show just like a buyer would, and I have a packet of information about myself, which I will hand out if I see something that I'm interested in. I also get a lot of referrals from my store owners.
Oh, great.
That's been a really big source of information for me. They'll say, oh, Lucha, I saw a great new line, or this line doesn't have a rep, or I hear this company is looking for somebody. So they will often recommend me to a company, and I've gotten some of my really good lines that way.
Oh, that's really good. So you brought something up, which is the internet. So, being in the wholesale industry, and you and I worked together at my previous company, and now you're a wonderful sales rep, and I am someone that understands and appreciates the role of the sales rep, but not everyone does. Not every manufacturer understands the importance of that, of how hard it is what you do, going into the stores, and sometimes you go in there 4 and 5 times before someone buys. So how challenging, or what do you see with the future of the wholesale business with manufacturers and them selling online? What do you think's going on? What do you see?
I think the internet is really going to make will impact this business in a very big way. I think number one, like I said earlier, a lot of the manufacturers will feel that it's not necessary to pay a sales rep a commission, and that's all. That's how I make my money. It's just commission on what I sell, because they can just sell directly to the merchants online. Many of them have fabulous websites, and they make it so easy for a customer just to go online. So I think also a lot of the manufacturers are selling directly to the consumer.
Right.
That's really, really hurting the bottom line of the retail stores. And a lot of them now are trying to protest in whatever way they can, is by saying if the manufacturer is going to sell directly to the consumer, then we are not going to be part of that equation.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because what if you have a really popular line that sells really well in your store, but you're being undercut by the manufacturer because they're selling directly to the public? That's tough. That puts you in a really tough spot.
It does. It does. I think the brick and mortar locations are really struggling because, they are really turning into showrooms.
Right.
We see this all the time where a lot of many consumers will go into a shop. They will take the time of a very experienced salesperson. They'll go through, and we see this a lot with bridal registries particularly. They will go through the store, put their list together, get all of the information, touch and feel all of the products, and then they say thank you very much. They go home, they go online, and then they make their purchases online. And that is becoming a very big problem for the shops. And they won't survive. They really won't.
Right. Yeah, that's tough. And I don't know if there's a way to meet in the middle. Like, is there a way for a manufacturer to say, okay, I'm going to sell directly to the public, but I'm going to refer that customer to you? I mean, is there, and I'm just thinking outside the box here, but is there a way that there could be some type of a relationship? I don't know, but it would be we need retail stores. We need brick and mortar stores. I'm a big advocate of online sales, but I also, being a wholesaler myself, I understand the importance of the retailer and the sales rep. So I just wish there was some way to all play together. I just don't know what that is.
I do know of one company that has sort of a creative solution to this. They will give any consumer who purchases directly from their online website, they will send that consumer, they'll accept a sale, but then they'll send the consumer the name of the stores that are in their zip code. And they'll also give the retail store a commission.
Right.
So the retailer is not out 100%. And
Sure.
Possibly getting a visit from that consumer at some later date. And then they're also getting at least a little bit of money as a result of that sale. So it sort of takes the edge off that a little bit, although ideally they would rather have the consumer buy from them. But it's a real problem, and I don't see that any manufacturer will decide not to sell online.
Right.
Even if they're going to lose a little bit of wholesale business.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So how have your husband still works at the other company?
He does.
And he travels a lot, I think, right?
He does. He's out of the country quite a bit.
How was it being a full-time mom? Because you also ran a business and you have two boys, and they're all graduated from college and everything at this point. But they were probably younger when you were running the business. So how did you juggle both?
Well, being a sales rep was actually a perfect job for being, to combine with motherhood, because one of the perks of being an independent sales rep is that you really can make your own hours. And when the kids were little, after school they did sports and all of that, so they really were not even finished with school till probably 4 or 5 o'clock. But when they were in high school, that's when I decided, that's when I thought it was much more important for me to be, like, I was in that carpool line every single day at 3 o'clock. So if they didn't have basketball practice or baseball practice, I was there to pick them up. And there was no going to the shopping mall or going to a friend's house. So I made all of my appointments between 9 and 3, and that worked out perfectly. And then more often than not, I did have to do a lot of paperwork at home at night, but that was fine.
Right.
And then if I needed to go to a school event or a sporting event, this kind of job really allowed me to do that. It was really perfect. But, it's very hard for someone, I think about the young people coming up and someone who wanted to go into repping. I think it is very challenging if you're a single person, because like I said earlier, it could be many months before you really see any income.
Yes, because you may get the order placed with the retailer. In case someone's not familiar with this, you go out and help get an order placed with the retailer. You submit that to the manufacturer. It could be up to 6 months before the manufacturer actually has the product and ships it. You don't get paid until it ships. So that's a big cash flow problem.
There's a big lag, but once you get going, it really can be. I mean, it can be a very lucrative business. And what's great about it, it's what you want to make of it.
Sure.
And I really think of this as a business, and I realize that I get out of it as much as I'm willing to put into it.
Absolutely.
And I really love what I do.
Now, what role has social media played? Like, we talked about the retailers and the online thing, but what role has social media played with you and your business? And then how do you see your retailers being with social media and with technology?
For me, social media is my biggest challenge. I fully understand that it's very important and that I really need to dive into that more wholeheartedly. I do have a website, and I think I have a pretty nice website, and I was able to get that together. My son actually put that together.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he did a really good job. It looks I was afraid it would look kind of loving hands at home, but I think it looks very
And we'll link that up below as well in the show notes.
Yeah, and the price was right.
Exactly.
So he did a really good job, and I was very appreciative of that. But in conjunction with my new website, I really do want to start doing more. I think you and I have talked about before, Sheila, that this has been it was my goal in 2012. In 2011, to really beef up my social media, my presence on Facebook and Twitter, and I didn't do it.
It is hard.
I failed miserably because it's very time consuming, and I do have a blog which sits idle most of the time.
Right.
So my New Year's resolution for 2013 was the same as it was for 2012, that I was going to really, beef up my social media presence. And I'm more aware of it, and I'm trying. You might have seen a couple of posts on Facebook.
I did. Yes, I did.
I'm going to work on a blog, but I think it's crucial. I really do.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think it is too. I see it as extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many retailers and interior designers alone that just don't even have a Facebook presence. And I don't understand it, because it is where marketing is going, and it is where consumers are.
I agree.
So I think it's extremely important. The hard part about it is that being a person that owns a business, and I do social media marketing for my two businesses, it's tough. Because it is time consuming, and it can suck you in.
It's to have the great photography and to go with it, and getting either taking or capturing the photos really takes a lot of time. And then you want to have a post or something that's meaningful.
Sure. I think it's something that a lot of retailers could do. They could even post little short videos of something going on in their store, a new display, anything to keep themselves, keep their brand up front and in the eyes of the consumer. I just think it's really important.
There are some of my retailers, like you said, have no Facebook presence whatsoever. They have no website, no Facebook presence. They're really, and I think it really hurts them.
Why do you think that is? They have to know it's important. They're old school.
They're typically the older person.
Yeah.
Who really just was not raised with social media. They don't quite understand it. They're not. They don't follow it. They don't do Facebook or Twitter, so they don't understand how important it really is. And I would say all of my younger merchants do understand Facebook and Twitter.
Well, the interesting thing about it is social media is not going to change. It's not going to make your business at all. It's just another aspect of your marketing strategy that I think is just important.
There's a merchant out of Los Angeles that I think has done probably the best job of anyone that I've ever seen on Facebook. Every single day she's posting pictures of great new things that have come in, or announcing some fabulous interior design job that she's gotten. And she gets a lot of business.
Right.
because of her Facebook presence.
That's great.
And she's not shy about tooting her own horn either. And I think I give her a lot of credit for that.
You know, that is a wonderful point, because I think we, especially as women, we kind of don't toot our own horns enough. And I think we toot a lot of other people's horns. And I think it's important to toot your own horn. I think it's a great point. You have to be confident in yourself. And I know you don't want to come across as arrogant, but it is important to believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, I think your chances of being successful are so much higher.
Oh, you are so right. You are so right. And if you, when I don't want to mention her name on this show because I don't know if she would like it or not, but
sure.
If you should check her out, Sheila, because I'll give it to you privately.
Sure.
I think she's done a really good job of using the best I've ever seen.
Well, I think that's wonderful. I really do think it is the point that we're going. And I do some consulting with some wholesale manufacturers, and it's sometimes like I'm pulling them along to understand the importance of social media in your marketing strategy as a whole, especially if they're going to try and do business online, which so many of them are. You have to be able to figure out how to rank on the first page of Google.
You know, I think with a lot of small businesses, you of all people would know, we get so caught up in the everyday details. You know, the expression, you don't see the forest for the trees.
True.
And we spend so much time on the little minutia of getting through the day. And social media is just not on your to-do list for the day.
It's not making you money immediately.
Money in an obvious way.
True.
In a very obvious way. Like shipping an order or writing
yes.
an order or stocking the shelf with merchandise or, you know, all of the things. And especially given the economy in the last few years, I think that people are running on very short staff. You know, they're very short staffed. So everybody is wearing a lot of different hats. And I think social media really falls to the very bottom.
Yeah, I agree. And unless you are a big enough company or you have the ability to have someone that really just focuses on that. And, you know, the nice thing is I do think it's something that can be done in baby steps. You know, one thing that I recommend to people I'm consulting it with is just write a post, get up 30 minutes early, do a post, or maybe on a Saturday, spend a few hours, write several posts, and then schedule those throughout the weeks. Then it doesn't seem so daunting.
Yeah.
And that makes it a little bit easier. Then you're taking off a little bite, a little trickle at a time, and that's sometimes easier than trying to bite it all off at one time because it is overwhelming. See, I'm helping you. We'll have to try that, but it helps me. Because if I know that I have a list of things to do, and one of those things is an outlier out there of writing a blog post, I'm going to put that off as long as I can. So
you're really good at that.
I try, but you know, I really have to make myself set time aside to do it.
Mm-hmm. And I see you using Instagram now.
I love Instagram because I think people are people. But, you know, I think people want to deal with people. And I think seeing a picture and putting a face with things is really important, which is another reason why I want to do this video show. You know, I love podcasting, but I think it's important for people to see people. I think you communicate with them, you connect with them more. It's all like what you were talking about earlier, it's building relationships.
Yeah, no, I agree. My business particularly that's really, I would say, the bulk of, if you're not a people person, then you can't be a sales rep. It's just not gonna work.
Not gonna happen.
You really have to be someone who likes, you know, talking to people and talking to people about their children and their home remodel and the new car that they're going to buy. I mean, it's just really half the appointment time is just spent on just talking about social things.
Sure.
And you really get down to business later.
You spend 30 minutes talking social, 10 minutes talking business. So what type of technology or tools do you use in your current job? Like, are manufacturers now using putting their catalogs? Can you use an iPad? I mean, what do you see out there in the market, and what are you using?
Well, I use my iPad. I never leave home without it. And the iPad is great because I can download all of my paper catalogs. As long as I have a catalog in a PDF format, I can actually download it onto my iPad. So that saves me having to carry lots of heavy binders with me or if I've forgotten a binder, or I'm in a situation where maybe I wasn't expecting to work.
Sure.
I could say, oh, here's a great store. I'm going to go in and
that's a great point.
And then some of the manufacturers have actually put their order entry systems onto the iPad. So I can actually use my iPad to write and store all of my orders and corresponding customer information.
Oh, very nice. And that's downloaded directly into their system?
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's called RepZio.
Oh, okay.
If you don't know about that, it's fabulous.
I don't know about that. I'll have to check that out. We'll link that up below as well.
Yeah, it's RepZio.
Okay.
And I can have, unfortunately, all of my manufacturers have not subscribed to it, and I hope they will. I've been really trying to promote this as much as I can because I think it's really, really easy to use, very user-friendly, very time-efficient, and it emails the orders directly to the customer.
Oh, great.
So it can be a paperless system if people were comfortable with that.
Sure. I've tried to go paperless with every business that I've had. It's just challenging. I love the thought of technology and paperless, but it scares some people.
It's the same as wireless.
I love it.
My office is supposed to be wireless, and there are wires everywhere.
Exactly. So, Lucha, if you were going to give someone a word of advice on going out on your own or starting a business, you have a lot of experience from owning your own business with your owning a business with your husband, now owning your business that you're in now. What type of advice would you give to someone?
I think the most important thing is to really stop and think about what it is in your life that you're passionate about. What you love. And then try to think about how you can make money working with or in, with products or in an industry that you love. If you're a creative person, then obviously you're not going to want to go sit in a cubicle
Sure.
and do bookkeeping. But, really think about what you want to do and then just don't give up. And I think the best way, honestly, I think a good way to do it is I know some young people who have jobs.
Yeah.
And then they do their business as an add-on because they can't really afford. They're not making enough money strictly doing their business, so they do keep their jobs and then work at their own business on their own time. And I think that's a really great solution because not all of us have enough money that we can afford to, take time to build a business.
I love that. I think that is a wonderful piece of advice because, not everyone wants to set out to own or to create an Apple or a big, huge company. And you may not be able to do that initially, but like Lucha said, you can start small. Even if you want to start a blog about whatever your passion is, you could just start that at night.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And Etsy really is a showcase for probably a lot of people who do have day jobs.
Exactly.
And a creative side, and they want to be able to take advantage of their creative talent and make some extra money. And maybe at some point they'll be able to quit their day job and just do what they love to do.
I totally agree. I would love to help there's some really talented people on Etsy, and I think, but they probably don't know that next step of really growing a business. And I love that part of it. That's why I love the thought of if I could help those people, because you go from having a great talent, some great products, but how do you get that to the next level? And a lot of people don't know that.
And a lot of very creative people don't, they find that hard to do. And I saw it with my husband, who was the one who got all the credit and got the job. But
that's okay. I lived through the same thing.
But yeah, a lot of creative people are actually not that good, are not that good at business. And I don't know why that is exactly.
I think a lot of creative people, in my opinion, from the experience that I've had working with a creative, is that it's not that they're not business smart, but they're almost like ADD-ish when it comes to business, because you have to be meticulous, and you have to have operations, and you have to have processes, and you have to get logistical strategies, which is probably what you were great at, which is what I was great at my last company. But some people don't see that. They see the design more, and you wouldn't have those other parts and pieces if you didn't have the foundation, which is what you probably provided.
I love working with creative people and supporting creative people. And that's what I feel like I do in my business, because I do have, by osmosis, I feel like I'm in a creative industry, although my particular area might not be that creative, but I'm selling beautiful things that make people's lives better and happier, enrich people's lives. I think, the people's homes are so important to them.
I agree.
And I give Martha Stewart a lot of credit for that. I know a lot of people mock her and think she's ridiculous, but I really give her a lot of credit for being the one to really elevate our consciousness
I agree.
about our homes, about homemaking, about the food we eat,
Yep.
and the friends we entertain. I think she was really, the pioneer in
I agree.
that. So, I think she's great.
I think some people that mock her really watch her on the side. They just don't want anybody to know. Well, Lucha, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. Your story's fascinating, and I'm going to link up everything below. I'm going to link your website up.
If you have any viewers that are interested in finding out more about being a sales rep, I would certainly welcome them calling me or contacting me via email. I'd be happy to give them whatever little bit of advice I could.
I love that. I'll link your email up as well.
Okay.
Thanks again, and have a great day.
Have a great day, and I'll see you in Dallas, right?
To another episode of Successful Women Talk. This episode with Lucha was a very interesting episode. I love talking to her about her position in the world of furniture and decor as a sales rep, a wholesale manufacturing sales rep. I also really enjoyed the story that she shared with us about how she and her husband owned a company, started and owned and grew a company, ended up selling that company, and when they did, the people that bought the company wanted to keep the husband and not her, even though she was kind of the backbone of the business. She did all the logistics, operations, and management, human resources, etc. So it was very interesting to hear that story from her, see how she pivoted and transitioned, and where she is today. So thanks again. Hey, check out the link below, and be sure and sign up for our email. We will send you all the new episodes of Successful Women Talk, our newsletter, and anything fun and exciting. Thanks again, and have a great day.